Welcome to episode 43 of the Grassroots Guy podcast with me, your host, Harry Purdy. Today, I'm delighted to be back after a little break over Christmas and the New Year in the first episode of 2022. And I'm delighted to bring on somebody who is very, very experienced within grassroots sports up to a very high level. Somebody who lifts and inspires the people around him. James Tostevin, welcome, mate. How are you doing?
Oh, mate, it's such a joy to be on the podcast. I wanted to be on for so long. So thank you. I'm doing good. It's been a busy day at work with the children, but yeah, all good. How about you? You doing okay?
Yeah, great, mate. Thank you very much. Looking forward to getting the podcast back off the ground in 2022. And what a genuinely happy and inspirational fella to bring on the podcast straight away. So looking
Oh,
forward to
you're
get stuck
so
into this one,
kind,
mate.
man. Yeah, same. I'm so excited. I really appreciate you giving me the chance to be a guest. So yeah, I'm really excited for this podcast, man.
Sweet. Mate, I'm gonna start with this one. I since the first time I met you in Fitness Yeovil, of course, doing our powerlifting and
Yeah,
training. You've had an impact on me in a like this is an honest like situation to know and see somebody that's always got a smile on their face, enjoying what they're doing. So where do you get that from, mate? Like, is it something that
yeah.
you believe you should be like, or is it just something that naturally you're quite like a happy-go-lucky, always kind of like I always feel like there's a lot of gratitude about you.
Thank you so much. That really means a lot to me, man. I would say first and foremostly, I'm really lucky to have the parents I have. They've shown me respect, they've shown me love, they've shown me kindness, like unconditional love, and all of that has just yeah led me to be the person that I am today. I love reading. I don't know about you,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I'm big into reading. I love watching inspirational YouTube videos, and throughout my life, I've really gravitated towards listening to different people's advice, celebrities, and just lots of different people. I always ask, so what inspires you? What makes you tick? And one thing that always sticks with me, I think that Simon Cowell said this actually. He
Wow.
just he this quote is every person that you meet, imagine they have an invisible sign on their forehead that says "Make me feel important," and I just thought that is so powerful. I want to make everyone feel special and everyone feel valued and noticed. So um, yeah, I think that follows through with who I am around people. So
Yeah, I can like definitely get that and grasp that feeling from you. Like it's almost like you go out of your way to kind of big people up, support them,
yeah,
motivate them. Like even if it's like obviously even if you're leaving the gym, there's always like a 2 minute, like you've always got time for everybody. And I think that's such an important trait to have. And I was only having a conversation with my girlfriend about like my sort of take on how people perceive that they should be in modern day life, and it isn't like what I try and be like, what you are like. And it's like people could like from the flip side, people could probably perceive you to be over the top, but actually you're
yeah,
not.
it's the
Like,
thing.
you
It's
know,
the
yeah,
thing.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
people sometimes like I don't know a few experiences where they stop for a minute and they're like, "Is he being a bit like disingenuous?" You know what I mean? So but it's just it's who I am. It's who you are. I think from the second that I met you, I think you were doing some deadlifts actually, and you were smashing it.
Probably.
And yeah, you're an absolute beast. And I just, yeah, you've got such a kind nature about you, and I think that's what we need more in the world, isn't it? We just need that kindness and that encouragement.
Yeah.
So
It's almost like I feel like there's a kind of a shift in the waters, and I heard it on a Chris Williamson podcast recently. And by the way, what a great start to the conversation this is. But it's almost like the world has gone through a era, like 5 to 10 years, where actually it was cooler to be a bit of a twat. That's just like, and
Yeah, for
now
sure.
potentially, hopefully, it's coming through the other side, and people are looking to be a little bit more grateful, a little bit more happy. And I kind of hope
Absolutely.
that we can have that impact on people when they listen to this podcast.
Absolutely. I think this is why I love your podcast, man, because you're listening to people and you're helping so many people learn about different journeys, and it's cool to be kind. Like,
Yes, mate.
of course, a primary school teacher says it's cool to be kind, but it's such a thing. I think that when you lift people up, it changes people's lives. So it's something that I hope, yeah, I hope more and more that people will start to think, maybe I don't need to be quite, so savage or brutal to people. So, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, like, again, just linking it into this conversation at the start of the podcast, like the banter era, like I think is what I'm trying to refer to, like where
I
people would,
see what you mean. Yeah,
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 where people would go out of their way to kind of like, and don't get me wrong, in the past I've probably been a victim of it, and maybe on the giving
taking
end of it,
part.
like in my younger
Yeah,
days, yeah,
sure.
yeah, but maybe where people go out of their way to like mock somebody or take the piss out of somebody in regards to what they're wearing. Maybe, like, of
Yeah,
course there's a time for a bit of a laugh and a joke and whatever, but sometimes, of course, that person that you may be mocking might need an arm around the shoulder and a little bit of picking up. So what are your thoughts on that one?
yeah. No, I think I think you're so right. It's such like I think through like secondary school, through like education, as you learn about yourselves, there's always that that banter that I think a lot of people have probably experienced, and it can uh, go in roundabouts, can't it? Because it's great fun, and even with just like mates now, you roast each other and you have that banter, and it's just getting to a point where yeah, it doesn't go too far. It's just knowing what respecting people's boundaries and just not taking it too far, for sure. So um it's an interesting time that we're in, for sure.
Amazing. And quickly, just I wasn't expecting this conversation to be in the podcast, but you mentioned books being a big influence on who you are and your outtake and the fact that you love
Man,
reading. Um,
yeah.
I mean, I'm not the biggest reader, but I did manage to read 10 books last year, which was on in my
Nice.
targets, which I mean
That's
is
wicked, man. That's great.
yeah, yeah, that's I'm happy with that. So if you was to say the a couple of the books that have had the biggest influence on yourself through your time, what would they be?
Oh man, that's like asking what's your favorite film, isn't it?
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
so hard. I think firstly, so maybe I'll try and choose three. The first book that got me into learning about myself and learning about others and my environment was the Chimp Paradox. I don't
yeah.
know if you've heard of that one. I think it's Steve Peters.
Yeah, I've read
Yeah.
it, mate.
Oh, amazing! What did you
Yeah.
think?
Um, yeah, I think for anybody that's either experiencing some struggles within their own mind or doesn't really understand, like it really could relate to anything like anger, stress, anxiety, feeling sad, all of those things. If you want to know more about it and why your brain sometimes has those
This is it.
moods, it's why that's a book that you need to listen to. Yeah, for sure. But it's your
Exactly.
question, mate. You tell people why
No,
they
I
should
like
listen to it.
knowing about you as well, man. I appreciate it. I'm sure we'll talk about it more and the journey that I've had with sports, but just for the record, that book really helped me as my athletics ambition to go to the Olympics. It helped me manage that when all of the injuries came and it didn't come to fruition. So, powerful book, recommend to anyone. Man, I wish I could look at my bookcase right now because there's so many books swelling through my mind. Um,
Ones that like really you want to gravitate towards, I suppose.
I'm really big into autobiographies. So there's so many autobiographies that I've read that have challenged me and pushed me. Um, one that just it's coming to mind. I've got to say it. So Henry Fraser is someone that has really inspired me. I think the book is called Every Day Can Be a Good Day. And long story short, his journey is he's amazing at rugby, popular, everything's going well for him. And then he's on holiday with the lads, takes a dive into the sea, into shallow water, and
Oh,
he becomes a quadriplegic just like that. And it's his story about how he turns all of that pain um, and hurt into something amazing. And he actually paints with his mouth, and
wow.
he does these incredible pieces of art. So unbelievable. Um, that'd be second book.
Yeah.
Um, I think this is just coming to mind because if there's one person that I'd say just for anyone to read and just that if you're into sports specifically, is Mike Tyson, because that autobiography, although it's inspiring, but I would say it's just exciting to read. He's had such a hectic life.
Yeah.
If you want something exciting to read, Mike Tyson's book is it's a whirlwind. So
Oh yeah, I'm gonna fully take you up on Henry Fraser and Mike Tyson recommendations, mate. They'll
yeah,
be
let me know what you think.
yeah, 100%. But anyway, James, what a start to the podcast that is. I'm sure we'll have many other tangents throughout today's
Yeah,
episode.
for sure.
Yeah. We are here to talk about you and your timeline through grassroots sports up to a good level, which obviously we will speak about further into the podcast. But for yourself, your first memories, when were they and what were they doing in regards to your sporting background?
Wow, man. Um, First memories in primary school, and this is when I discovered that I could run, and that I could run fast. Year three, so I'm about 8 years old, and the teacher lines the class up on painted track,
Yeah, yeah.
and blows the whistle, and I run as fast as I can and happen to be the first over the line and start to be like, oh well, maybe this is something that I'm quite good at then. And we did a couple more races and I managed to reach the line first each time. And um, that excitement for running then pushed me forward to try football and just and cricket and just get into any other sports that the school was providing. Big into gymnastics, surprisingly, as well when I was younger. So that's just it.
Amazing. So you had the bug for winning then pretty early on in regards to your sporting
Yeah, for
timeline as
sure.
such. Did you have any influences? Was there anybody at school that like kind of pushed you more towards the running track and gymnastics mainly? Obviously, you've mentioned your parents being really supportive and
Absolutely
stuff
amazing.
like as you've
I'm
been
very
growing
fortunate.
up, but were they sporty themselves?
Absolutely. Yeah, for sure. Lots of people just I'm very lucky to have the family that I have that have encouraged me. Um, yeah, dad's huge into cycling. He he actually won the Tour de Guernsey
Oh wow.
on a bike many years ago, so he loves cycling. Mum again loves the cycling, and sister's really into swimming. So the whole family was very sporty. So I just got pulled along with it.
Yeah, unreal. So, in regards to yourself and athletics, then what was it about athletics that you really kind of, apart from winning, obviously, and being really fast, what was it that, like, out of all of those sports, you mentioned football, you mentioned cricket. I know you went on to play badminton at a good level as well.
Thank you.
What was it that really stuck out for you in regards to athletics?
There was two things mainly. The first, don't get me wrong, I love playing in a team, but I love focusing on the job at hand and knowing that I'm in control. of whether I win. So it was that individual nature that I very much was driven to, on the track, on the field. But the main thing really was the community. If you go to an athletics track and anywhere in the country, you anywhere in the world, you will be welcomed in, and it's a wonderful thing. So athletics has such a lovely community. So that's very much what pulled me towards that sport in particular.
So if you was to remember like and go a little bit more forward in your timeline, then where was it that you really clicked as a community as an athlete then?
So do you mean like as an athlete? When did I think athletics is the one?
Yeah, and yes, that's a kind of what I'm getting at. But also, what club was it that made you feel really welcome as
Oh
well?
man, yeah, it was for sure Yoac.
Okay, yeah,
Yeovil Olympiads is an amazing club, and it's wonderful because not only do they have all of this support for um, adults and a great team for that, but their ability to help produce and work with the youngsters is unbelievable. There are clubs that allow, and I volunteered at one point, fundamentals for athletics, for children to do at 4 years old. So it's just an amazing club that helps anyone at any age really just get passionate. So
unreal. So, in regards to yourself, then going back to you, James, how
yeah.
many of the different sports within athletics did you get involved in?
So events and things like that.
That's
Then
the
yeah,
word I'm looking for. Yeah.
yeah, that's cool. Basically, I tried everything as you do as a kid. Loved, loved sprinting, loved long jump and high jump, and basically that led me towards pentathlon, which I took very seriously, and then octathlon. So, yeah, all the jumps pretty much bar pole vault, which is something I wish I'd tried,
Yeah.
and all the throws bar hammer. So shot put, discus, javelin,
Wow.
and it was great. Yeah, I was very, I loved it. I loved it, man. I miss it.
Yeah, of course. And we'll come on to that shortly. So talk to us about like how it progressed for you then. So you went to primary school, you basically smashed everybody at sports day, and then at secondary school, you started to progress through the ladder a little bit more and made it to nationals at 16, 17. What was that experience like?
Thank you, man. Yeah, so it was amazing, and so the journey started at primary school, worked through uh, all of these all these rounds basically, got to county, and it was at county and southwest that it really took off because um, amazing chap called Dick Bowden, who still I think organises all of the Somerset athletics. He came over to me and said, keep passionate about this, keep working hard because I think you could go far. So I went to the Southwest Championships after that encouragement, and I managed to. So this is when I was under 15, and I managed to win the Southwest Championships
Wow.
in hurdles specifically. So I'm talking about hurdles, and yeah, that led to the nationals. So once I got to the nationals, that was when it got really challenging, as you can imagine.
What does a 15-year-old do then in preparation for like knowing that they're going to the nationals? Because I'm sure like from talking to you and knowing you, and I know you'd have been a bit younger, but there's no way you'd have approached that casually, right? I'm sure there was a lot of
Yeah,
preparation like from your end. So what did you do?
it's interesting. I wish I knew more back in the day, but basically, the focus would be to sleep well, to eat well, and this was the biggest thing for me: mindset. And I think this is perhaps where everything stems from. I would very much visualize every possibility, and that allowed me to perform to quite a high level. So I visualized me going wrong, and the the possibility of that happening, almost expelling that through visualizing it, then refocusing and thinking, how am I going to really manage this? Going through every detail. So visualizing was a massive part of my sports, in athletics specifically.
So for somebody so young to do that, again, I'm going to ask about influences or
Yeah,
what you would have learned or what you'd have read or what you'd have watched to make you think in that way, because that's a like these are sort of things that I'm at 29 kind of just getting my head around. So you were kind
yeah.
of very far ahead of other people in regards to your visualization techniques and dealing with maybe like something that most people would call stress or worry about an event. So where did you get that from?
It's interesting. I still try to think it through now. I think a big person, that yeah, Bill Whistlecroft.
Right.
The athletics arena is now named after him. He was my athletics coach. He was my hurdles coach. He passed away in 2014 or 2013, and he taught me so much. He trained Olympians, so he'd taken people to extremely high levels. And he said to me, and this is just another book, um, Michael Jordan, Michael Johnson rather. You know the
Sprinter.
the sprinter, 9-time world champion. He's written a book called Slay the Dragon, and that book, he said, he gave me a copy, and he was like, James, use this as your Bible. And everything, I just was like a sponge, and I took all that in. Michael Johnson's massive into visualization, so
Wow, that's where you
that's
got
where
it
I
from
got it
then.
from. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. It's like what I find um fascinating really is that these techniques obviously are good for some people and maybe not for others.
yeah, for sure.
What did you find so useful about it? Was it just the fact that you could literally picture the worst case scenario in your head and just replace it with something more positive?
Yeah, exactly. It was knowing that whatever situation I'd find myself in, I would be able to manage it, and through that clarity of I can manage whatever happens, then refocusing and thinking, I have it in my hands right here. Focus, and then focusing on execution of the race. Um, it was all about process rather than product. So, how am I going to execute this race? Having that focus rather than I want to win. I've got to win.
Yeah.
So
Almost took the pressure away from yourself as well then.
exactly. So that's very much how visualizing helped me, and it was a great technique that I still use for just general, yeah, just going through life, doing lessons, doing lots of different things.
Amazing. That's yeah, it's really interesting. So we go back to your timeline and in regards to you going up the levels, you got fourth at England Nationals, and
Yeah,
then you went forward again to Great British
the British
competition,
Championships. Yeah,
and you got fourth again, which you said to me in your voice note. Frustrating isn't the word, obviously, to miss out by a place of getting a medal. How did
yeah.
you were you, like you must have been happy, mate? Fourth overall in GB, or was there a little bit of like disappointment?
Yeah, this is just it. When I placed fourth, specifically in the British Championships, it was like, immediately after the race, I sat on the bench and I saw these guys go on to. Oh man, I saw them go onto the podium, and I couldn't help but feel a bit disappointed. But then I had this wave of, I'm still fourth in Britain. I should still feel very proud of this achievement. So what a mixture of emotions at such a young age, and I felt at the end of the day, it was a positive feeling. So
Yeah,
So
that's
yeah.
again, it's interesting, isn't it? Because obviously it's such a high level, or the higher level you go, I suppose, the more focus is on winning. But I suppose
Yeah.
because of the age you were at, and to be fair, like if I was fourth at anything in Great Britain, I'd be bloody delighted. So to be fourth in your event must have been really fulfilling.
Absolutely. Yeah. It didn't stop me striving though for the next year. Just visualizing those athletes and trying to beat them. So
Yeah, 100%. So you went on to then be a reserve for either no,
yeah, it was
octathlon. Yeah,
yeah, pentathlon actually reserved for the England team to go. Yeah, I can't remember whether it was like um, basically there was against other countries and against other nations, and man, I was a reserve, so I was like, I wonder if someone's just gonna
get injured.
maybe
Yeah.
not make it, but it just didn't happen. So that's okay.
That
Um,
that would have been you at the peak of your like athletics powers then. So when you were at the top of the game, like what events were you running really well? Was it mainly hurdles? Was that your like number one event then?
yeah, I'm just trying to think. There's one chap called Nicholas Hunt, and I don't know if he's still into athletics, but he could be an Olympian basically one day. Look out for Nicholas Hunt. I was very confident with the hurdles. Shot put was something I was strong at, and that's something I'm still dabble in. Because I love that's one thing I can do with the ankle injuries that I've got. And yeah, I really loved jumping. So I was strong with long jump specifically, more so than the high jump. But yeah, I was big into jumps as well. So terrible at distance though. Don't make me do 800.
That's like, yeah. I mean, I've never been any good at any athletics, but get me long distance running. I don't think it would be my thing. Um,
Was
and
a
then,
footballer.
well, yeah, true. Like, get me on a foot. It doesn't feel like long distance running when you're on a football pitch, though.
Yeah, because you're
Weirdly,
focused on the game, aren't
yeah.
you? Yeah,
Um,
no, it's true.
yeah, no, definitely a different feeling to like going out and running a 10K. That's for sure.
Yeah, true.
So with you then, James, we've got this young athletics athlete at the top of his powers, and then unfortunately, hamstring one goes not
Yeah,
just once but three times on the
yeah,
right hand leg. Yeah.
yeah.
What was the scenarios with that? Was it literally training and it just went pop?
So it's so it was a tough time for me, if I'm honest. I'm happy to share this with everyone and with you. Um, I lost my grandma in 2013, the first person that I lost in my family. Um, and I went to the London games, and I thought, this is the one. I'm going to win this for my grandma. So I'm going to run really hard, and I will win this race. And in that race, I tore my hamstring. I was training really hard at the time, and perhaps too hard, and that then led to, oh, I've got to get back right away because I said that I would do it for her, and um, and it didn't come to pass. So it was quite a journey, and to add to that, then Bill, my hurdles coach, passed away, and so those two influential people, because I don't think I've said enough actually about my grandma. She loves sports. It those two people, I just wanted to get back to it so fast that I then re-tore and tore again my hamstrings. And um, long story short, it led to me having to stop completely because whilst I was running with like partially torn hamstrings, trying to push too fast, I was ignoring the pain that I was getting in my ankle. I don't know if I was changing the way I was running, but then that led to surgery, and I don't know how much you want me to dive into it at this point in the podcast, but then all of that happened. So
Yeah. So it's interesting you mentioned that. Like, number one thing, anybody who's played any sport or watches any sport would know the reaction of any athlete on the TV, whether it be a footballer, sprinter, when the hamstring goes, it's like one of the most um debilitating injuries, because it
yeah,
literally just stops you in your track, and it's like a momentum thing, right? You're going, especially for a sprinter, and you normally see it
mm,
when somebody's in full flight, if you like, where they're sprinting and bang, the muscle goes, and you literally see them going like 90% speed to almost having to stop dead because their leg
it
just seizes up.
yeah, exactly. It's shocking, and it very much felt like that. I was sprinting, pulled the trail leg over, which is my right leg, and just instantly, boom, felt like I'd been hit by a truck. It's a very, very bizarre feeling. I
Yeah.
don't know if you ever had that happen
Never. However,
tweaked it.
Charlie Wakefield, the Yeovil Town player that was on the podcast, who was at Chelsea, has mentioned that he did it 3 times really severely, and
Ah,
obviously had the luck, or if you like, the support by being at Chelsea, that they could pay for him to go and get. I think he said that he had,
yeah, reattached.
and they basically grew some muscle from some fibers or embryos in his hip and then replaced it there. But that was in Barcelona, would have cost X amount of money. And obviously, like, unfortunately for you, not having those sponsors, not having that professional care, not having X amount of £1,000 to go
Yeah,
towards your recovery, leaves you in a totally different position. And it's interesting to see. This is the beauty of the Grassroots Guy podcast, right? The different people that I can get on and talk about different experiences,
yeah,
because you
exactly.
were having aspirations of going as high as you possibly could. Like, obviously the top dream that you could have had would have gone and represented Great Britain at like one of the Olympics in the future. But the realization of, unfortunately, holy shit, my hamstring's now gone for a third time because I've not given myself recovery, must have been a real difficult thing for you to deal with. But
Yeah, absolutely. It's sorry, go on.
no, I was just going to say, but these experiences would not have allowed you to be who you are now. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. And this is such a powerful thing that I feel I want everyone to know is that although it's been such a tough journey, and it's still I still sit sometimes and it catches me. I think, man, what if I'd stay? It's that classic story where everyone knows someone that could have been an Olympian, but their body let them down. And it's just learning about yourself, and then moving forward in the best direction you can. And for me, I read the Chimp Paradox, and I was like, I want to make a difference for other people. Why? What I wanted to do athletics for was to achieve great things, inspire people, and then use that platform to do charity work. I saw myself trying to, just lift up and encourage and support as many people with that platform as possible. And where it led me to, and what I'm doing now, is just going directly to that and knowing that you can overcome these hurdles, and then um, it turn into something that actually will make you even happier. And I'm now doing primary school teaching, specifically with PE, and that is something that fills my heart with so much joy each day. So
Amazing. And it really, like, it again, you baffle me in some respects, mate, because what you have just said really links to this. And it's, you haven't ever become the victim of your injuries. And I know this could sound like real, like, it doesn't mean to be harsh, but some people would genuinely, like, whether they got released from an academy in football because of injuries, or obviously they have got injured, or something got in the way of their life. Some people
Yeah,
get led by that, like,
absolutely.
and their life can also like almost be guided by the fact that this has happened to them. But
Yeah.
actually,
Yeah,
what you've done, and I'm sure you may have seen, I'm coached by a guy called Paul Mort, who's like a really enthusiastic guy from South Shields,
yeah,
like self-development coach. But he says that these things you need to create for you, like what you can't say thank you for in your past will rule your life in the future. And clearly, like, you can see your mindset is, do you know what? Yes, I wanted to be an Olympian. Yes, my hamstring popped 3 times, and I've had to had surgery on my hamstring and my ankle. But here's all the 25 things that I can do for other people instead.
absolutely. I think it's spot on, and yeah. To add to that, I just feel this is something that I want everyone to know is like when you surround yourself with amazing people, you can turn obstacles into opportunities. So um, that's what happened for me. I was very lucky in that sense to be around amazing people that helped me turn it into an opportunity to do something new.
So
So
what was the fit? So we spoke about the Chimp Paradox a little bit.
yeah,
For yourself, when you read it, then obviously, where I want to go with this is a little bit deeper. What was it regarding your chimp, your monkey brain, that you were finding it hard to accept or deal with at the time?
it was. Um, my chimp would constantly say, "Why is this happening to me? Why is this happening to me? This is not fair. That I've got all these aspirations not only to achieve for me, but to use it in a positive way. Why is this happening?" And the emotional side of me kept falling upon that answer, but um, then the human side would say, just balance it and say, it's a fact of life that life is it can be unfair, and we need to learn how to manage this situation so that I can grow from it.
And
So
obviously there's a fine balance between, this is real deep stuff now, but there's a fine balance between getting too drawn into conversation with your chimp, because as Steve Peters says,
exactly.
you won't ever win because it'll just keep going on. So I don't know if you've seen me speak about mindfulness, or like if you've ever done any of it in the past yourself. How do you keep yourself from getting too attached to those conversations with yourself then?
Um, so you're spot on. Firstly, it's accepting it. It's saying, you know what, that is fair enough. It's I understand why you're upset, and it's people say it's really important to be kind to yourself, and that is really important. I still work on it. I think everyone does, don't they? Everyone's their harshest critic, but um, for me, it was recognizing, yeah, this is upsetting. So I hear you, chimp. I know that you're upset, and we're going to work with you. So it, it's that acceptance. I've really learned to um, have positive expectations, but if they don't come through, then learn how to accept it. And that's something that um, I really work towards to help, yeah, manage that chimp when it's like, but why? So,
Yeah, it's real fascinating, and genuinely, I know I've said it before, but if you're resonating with any of this and you feel like you could kind of link what James is saying with something that might be going on with your own head or brain, then go and listen to that book. I mean, what he does for me is I don't know if you've read other books that are similar, but he just puts it into a place where actually you can kind of rule, like, without getting into an argument, like we've said, with yourself, you can almost rule that side of your brain out and say, do you know what? Thank you very much for your opinion, but here's what we are going to do, right? And like,
exactly.
one of the things I've always like bounced back on and learnt from, like, in my journey with all of that sort of stuff, is that you aren't your thoughts neither. Like,
That's a
the
powerful thing.
yeah, you are only judged by your actions. So if it's that like that you want to do for yourself, then your positive actions for yourself, for others, will always speak a bit louder than what your chimp brain will.
Absolutely. Our thoughts don't define us. And um, it's about taking action in a way that will, yeah, help you grow as a person, help other people grow as people. And it's just managing it all, and it takes time. This is the important thing for people to know, is that it didn't happen overnight. None of this happened overnight. It was years, if I'm honest, of listening to the chimp, and working it through by talking it out with amazing people around me, and knowing that, yeah, the life happens. And I hope people can resonate that life sucks sometimes, but there are ways to manage it. So
Yeah, like without struggle, how do you grow?
absolutely. And that is such a frustrating truth.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. I mean, like I know we've all been there, like where things aren't going quite right, and you've gone through like maybe a breakup, or like maybe you're not as happy as you want to be for some sort of reason, like
Yeah.
lost your job, didn't get the grades you wanted at university, etc., etc. The list goes on, the list goes on. But without those things, how do you become a better person? How do you learn about yourself? And as much as we all want that free ride and the easy journey and to win the lottery, how boring would life be without these struggles and stuff?
You know what? That's a fantastic thing to say. You're right. Life is exciting, and that's because of the unpredictability. It's because things go wrong, and this is. I'll bring back to Mike Tyson, because he's fascinating, because so many things in his life have gone wrong, but he just continues to turn it round, and manage things. And so, um, yeah, it's an interesting thing for sure.
Yeah. So we'll move you on, mate. You are now a strong motherfucker.
Well,
So
try to be. Thank you, man.
what got you into powerlifting?
Simple fact was, um, I couldn't do any other sports because running was like gone. So what's static? Squats, deadlifts, and I can use my arms, of course. Um, so it became something that I started off. I did bodybuilding for 2 years, but then I was like, man, I want to push the limits. So I got into powerlifting.
Yeah, nice. So your first movements into powerlifting was how long ago?
2 years, I would
Yeah.
say 2 or 3 years. I really started, maybe longer actually, probably 3 years. Yeah, I was pushing the limits probably about 3 years ago, but I just wanted to see where we could take it.
What do
So
you love about it so much then? Because obviously we've all got our like I've got my things that I love about powerlifting. Like Sam Coombs will have his things that he loves about powerlifting. But what about James Tostevin then? Why does James Tostevin love powerlifting?
I wonder if this will be similar to you, and the people that you've spoken to. Um, for me, the first time I hit a 100 kilo bench press, I thought, man, if I can achieve this, what else can I do? I can then go and be a better person. I can be a better friend. I can be, and it was more than just powerlifting. It was that, firstly, of course, that excitement to be like hitting a new milestone. And that's something about powerlifting that's really exciting, is that it's so clear, so
Yes.
empirically clear when you make progress. You
Yeah.
know, in football, you could maybe make several good passes and think, I've played well today, but harder to define if you've made progress. But 100 kilos this week, 110 next week, you've made definite progress. So
Yes.
that's where I love it.
And that's what our brain loves, right?
Exactly, yeah. Especially me, it seems.
Yes. And especially with powerlifting, like, geez, you put a lot, as you're aware, you do put a lot of blood, sweat, and tears into the nitty gritty stuff. And when it pays off on the day, like whether it be a competition or a PB day, It's real nice. I will ask you on the podcast, actually, mate. How did the squat day go?
What, to hit my 180?
Yeah, yeah.
So I'll publicly say that I failed it,
Okay.
and that I'd love for anyone that wants to manage failure or overcome that to check out the blog that I wrote about it. It's called The Frustration of Failure. It's on liftinspire.co.uk. Shameless plug, but
I will
it's
put the link in the podcast description.
oh, thank you so much. It's I think I let my there's so many factors to why I didn't get it, but I missed it. So
Talk to us about those factors, James. What do you think played into part of the failure on the day?
um interestingly, I would say my mindset wasn't on point. I don't think I visualized it very uh, accurately. And oh yeah, I was training with some really strong people, and it's easy to lose focus when I was seeing all these guys hit 180 before I attempted it, and I was like, man, this is amazing. They've absolutely smashed it, and I just found 170 so hard
Mm.
that I don't think I can do it, and it materialized. I didn't get it because
Yeah, yeah.
maybe I got into my head. Maybe,
Slight bad visualization, then basically.
yeah, maybe I wasn't strong enough. It's these really hard hitting factors that maybe I just wasn't strong enough. Maybe I need to train a bit harder. Maybe I need to take steroids. So, no, I'm joking.
Nah, you don't need steroids, mate. You need spinach shakes or whatever you're taking.
Yeah, yeah, that's just it.
There we
Oh
go.
man,
So we will speak about that then. Like,
yeah,
as again, somebody we speak, and we always talk about training and how things are going, and I always like to know, I mean, you get the gist of who's doing things naturally and
yeah,
who might
yeah,
not be and all that sort of stuff. But from the word go, by the sounds of it, within your journey within sports, you've always taken your sleep pretty seriously. You've always taken your nutrition
yeah,
pretty
yeah,
seriously. Potentially rushed your recovery side of things when you did your hamstring, clearly.
yeah,
But
sure,
I'm sure you've learned from that and you now give yourself a correct rest period and stuff. But you
absolutely.
also do take your supplementation very seriously as well. So
I do, yeah.
let's have a little discussion about that, shall we?
I'd love to. It seriously changed recently. And for the record, I'm a natural athlete, as I would define natural. I'd love to hear actually what you think about what people define as natural, because some people think that any supplement, whether it's caffeine or creatine, is not natural. But for me, I take multivitamins, creatine, ZMAs, really important for sleep and recovery. All of the omega 3 and things like that. And I've got it actually right here. I thought I'd bring it
Yes.
just to show people what I'm currently exploring. So I could be a fad, it might not be a thing, but I think this is the new creatine. It's been around for years now, but only now people are starting to hear about testosterone.
Okay. So James
Testosterone,
Tostevin, tell us about testosterone.
it's a plant-based supplement, and you can get this kind of um, supplement through having spinach, for example. And I'm still learning more about it. It's a compound that basically originates from plants. And they found in the research I've explored, they found that when they gave animals these types of plants and this particular compound, they got stronger, or were able to manage things better. I need to double check the research, if I'm honest, but it's something that a lot of, I don't know if you've heard of Derek More Plates More Dates on YouTube. He's a huge, funny name, but he's huge. Influence. He's got millions of subscribers, and same with Greg Doucette. These guys sell testosterone because they, well, Derek is a chemist, and he's done a lot of research on it and says it's a safe supplement to take. And your reference to spinach, this is like the equivalent of having 6.6 kilos of spinach, which like a normal bag's like 300 grams, so you can imagine how much is in that.
So what's the calorie content of one of those tablets, James?
You know what? I have no idea. I'll have to find out exactly, but I don't think it would be like crazy.
Yeah.
I don't know if it says actually. Yes, each tablet is 250 milligrams of testosterone, and I'm not entirely sure the calorie. I'll get back to you on
Yeah,
that.
no, it doesn't matter. I was just intrigued because I'm obviously spinach is such a low calorie food, but there we go. I'll just be intrigued to see how much they could cram into one tablet. You also are an advocate of magnesium, and you would, in regards to your sleep, do you believe that magnesium has a positive influence on your sleep?
Absolutely. In my opinion, I think that everyone should try it because the difference in quality is unbelievable. You'll find your sleep improves so much, and it's something. I take the spray actually.
I remember you saying that.
Yeah, which is interesting, but I put it right onto the muscles that are sore, and that magnesium is amazing for sleep. So that is another zinc as well, but magnesium for sure. So
amazing. So for you then, James, at the moment, what is the next step for your? Obviously, we're never going to get you back sprinting again, but we're going to try and get you back to like as good as full health as possible. Have you got any more surgeries lined up?
I'm currently undergoing some laser treatment every 3 weeks on my ankle, and that is proving to be beneficial. I don't know if it's going to change my life, but it's definitely helping. So, something quite new in terms of treatment. I'm having laser, and that is it's a painless procedure, and it seems to regenerate the muscle fibers. So, currently having that. Are you wondering about what's the next step in terms of sports for me, or?
Yeah. I mean, normally at the end of the podcast, I would say, "What's next for James Tostevin?" So I'll just chuck that one in now, seeing as though you've led me on to the question.
Sure, yeah. What's next is I'm pushing squats, bench, deadlift. I'm pushing powerlifting to the limits, and I'm documenting it all on the YouTube channel that I have, and I'm just hoping. Yeah, I'm gonna hit 180. I just don't know when.
Nah, I mean, people who know you see how hard you train and like what you put into it. So I'm not sure it's far away, mate. Like on another day, like after whenever it was, just after Christmas, I'm sure if you'd have gone in with the real battle in regards to looking after your chimp and stuff, it would have gone up. But look,
Yeah,
sometimes these weights feel light, sometimes these weights feel heavy, and maybe
no,
for you on that day, mate, it was just a day where things felt heavy and you were a little bit tired.
I think you're spot on. That's just it. So I need to train with you.
Yes, mate, we'll get a session in for sure. In regards to you, then I've mentioned it to you in person, but let's document it on the podcast as well.
Yes.
Competition.
Interesting. There's part of me that thinks that I shouldn't compete in powerlifting because I feel like I might lose the love for it,
Okay.
which surprises me. But the more I think about competing, the more I think I might lose the joy. So
Wow. Yeah. Fair enough.
maybe I'm inspired by you to explore it, but perhaps that's something you could tell me more about your experiences at some point. So.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, for me, I was never going to a competition with any expectation of getting anywhere near. When I went, when so like I don't know if people know my story with it, but I did enter a novice competition, tore,
Exactly.
did a real small tear to my trap,
Oh, you did,
which
didn't you? Yeah.
pushed my competition entrance back by like a month. So when I did that, I then entered a proper like Southwest competition. That was the only one that was like
Oh
local.
my goodness,
Yeah.
yes.
So I went there with people who were basically trying to record like like
Records,
yeah records to get into GB, etc., etc. So I went there. Like maybe if it was a novice competition, I'd have been all right. Like I would never have. I think I finished second last on the day, but when I went there, the support and stuff just mad. Like it's never one thing I kind of Sam dual strength coaching said to me is like it doesn't matter what you do. It doesn't matter what everybody else does. Literally at powerlifting, it's just you versus you. Like your
Yeah,
last PB in the gym, if you beat it at competition, like that is basically what you need to take away from the day. But I took so much away from the day. Like obviously I failed some stuff, I succeeded in some stuff, and like I learned more from failing a rep than I did popping up my deadlifts, for example, so yeah.
Oh, that's amazing. That is so amazing. It makes me want to try.
There you go. Well, look, the option is always open, and like maybe we could go and compete at a competition together. So watch this space, because if me and James do that, I'm sure it will be heavily documented online
Yes.
and stuff. Yeah.
Definitely.
Yes.
Absolutely. Yeah, let's go.
Sweet. Amazing. And then in regards to you, James, you're also a primary school teacher as well. And if you take half of the energy you bring into the gym to school, these kids have got a decent PE teacher, man. So
Oh man,
I say
thank you.
decent, a very decent PE
Ah,
teacher.
you're very kind. Thank you.
What do you try and deliver to them on a daily basis?
So with the children, I follow in the national curriculum and I make sure that I teach every sport to them. Um, and yeah, very focused on technique, very focused on supporting them. The big thing for me, like it has been in my life, it's building them up to have confidence, learn how to manage adversity, and be the best they can be, because it's so important for children to know that not everybody wins.
Yeah.
I'm very firm about that. You will not always be a winner, and losing is a great lesson. So I teach, all sports, and life lessons for me is a great. I love doing that in sessions when I can.
Cool. My final question for you then, James, is if you was to offer anybody, I don't really want to make it injury based because you are too advanced, like with your mental state and welfare for it, I think. But if you was to offer anybody some advice regarding a setback or dealing with a setback, what would you say to them?
Let me think about it. I would say surround yourself with amazing people if you can. And if you're not in that position where you can't do that, find parts of the journey that you just cannot live life without. Parts that make you feel so motivated, even when you're losing and even when things are hard, that you just can't stop yourself enjoying and being involved in and staying passionate about.
Yeah. And one thing that Paul Mort would say about if you're not sure what that is, that's also exciting because it means that you still haven't found your life passion.
There you go. That's just it. That is just it, man. So life's an exciting journey
There
for
you go.
sure.
James, that I believe wraps up your timeline within your episode of the podcast.
Absolutely. Thank you.
What
Yes.
what I would love to do now is move you on to 11 questions to finish. This is
Yeah.
the opportunity to see if you can think fast on your feet. And if I'm honest with you, mate, it's about cutting to the chase with your answers to get a good time. So are you ready?
Absolutely.
Are
Hey,
you
here we go.
ready
I'm
to
gonna be
rock
quick.
and roll? Hold on, I need a pen. Hold on.
Here we go.
There it is. Right, James. In no, hold on. I need to find the questions before we start. Okay, yeah. So are you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready. Here we go.
Cool. In 3, 2, 1, James, what is your Tesco meal deal choice?
Any vegan sandwich, crisps, and spirulina drink.
What is your best sporting memory?
Winning at the Southwest Championships in the hurdles.
Who is your sporting hero?
Rafael Nadal.
What is your favorite takeaway of choice?
Oh, Chinese.
Go-to music choice.
Kendrick Lamar.
Favorite tipple. Favorite beverage.
Cider.
Best leader or coach you've played with or been managed by.
Bill Whistlecroft.
Most famous opposition.
What do you mean?
Like, who have you come up against in your past that might be a well-known name? Can pass if you want.
Nicholas Hunt. Watch out for him.
Advice you would like to have given yourself at 18.
Stay patient. Everything will work out.
Best athletes you trained with.
Who have I trained with? That's amazing. Jasmine Sawyers is an incredible athlete. She's in the Olympics right now. I did train once with her. So
wow. And have you or did you have any competition habits?
Visualizing, big into rituals. Yeah.
Amazing, mate. That is actually a really good time that you've registered there. 1 minute 23.
Let's go.
Which puts you in 5th place, James. 4th place. Yeah.
I was waiting for 4th. Oh.
James, how have you found your experience on the Grassroots Guy podcast, mate?
Wow, it's been an absolute joy. Thank you so much for having me.
So if you wanted to give yourself that shameless plug officially now, where can people find you?
Go on to YouTube, Lift and Inspire. Go on the website, liftandinspire.co.uk. Yeah, I'm on Instagram, TikTok, you name it. So
Unreal.
Hit me with a message.
James, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you on. For the listeners' benefit, if you want to find me, you can find me at the Grassroots Guy on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. For also the listeners' benefit, you can now leave 5-star reviews on Spotify as well as Apple Podcasts. For those Spotify listeners who haven't left a 5-star review, it does go a long, long way to helping me out. And it'd be amazing to see those 5 stars next to the Grassroots Guy podcast name on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. This has been episode 43 with James Tostevin. I'll look forward to getting this episode out this Friday, and you'll find me back here with a new episode every Friday for the foreseeable future. James, say goodbye, mate.
Thank you, guys. Take care.
Thank you very much. Speak soon.